Robin, I want to talk about your body and your head now, but I want to start at your bum. Is that okay if we talk about your bum for a little bit?
Sure. I'm used to it. Like your ultra races, you have to be comfortable with talking about your bum.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Velo Podcast. My name is Mike Levy, and today we are talking all things Tour Divide because I've got the guy who won the whole damn thing with me today. He also became the first human to do it in under 12 days. Robin Gemperle rolled into Antelope Wells on the Mexican border, 2:14 a.m. after covering about 2,700 miles. It's over 4,300 kilometers in 11 days, 19 hours and 14 minutes. So I can't math at all, but if I try to do the math, that's about 360 to 370 kilometers a day, every day for 11 days, or about 230 miles a day for our American listeners. That's a lot more than most of us do in a week. That's more than most of us do in a month, Robin. Thank you for coming on the podcast, Robin. How are you doing today?
Thanks for inviting me. You know way more than I do. I didn't know these numbers so exactly anymore. I just have to trust you.
Oh,
I'm,
dude. Well,
I'm,
don't
I'm
check my math.
I won't, don't worry. But I have to admit, if I listen to them, they do sound quite interesting, at least. um,
Man, it
like,
it sounds unreal. Before we get into this, one of the things that I love to do after a big ride, like I'm done my ride, I shower, I'm sitting on the couch. I love to just like pull up my phone and look at my details. How soon after this ride were you just engulfed in Tour Divide Strava details?
hmm, that's actually a good question because I think it didn't really happen. Um, like I have my coach who is definitely very interested in these details, and then the thing is, my phone is so overused at after these events that it's not really an object I like too much after these races because you get. I mean, of course, it's really great to see all these people that are stoked and that are reaching out, saying hi, congratulating. But also, like you, as soon as you use your phone, it means you have to answer basically 100 WhatsApps, 100 Instagram DMs, and don't misunderstand me. I like it, but it's work as well.
Yeah,
So
exactly. You just kind of want to start from scratch.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, I have to say, Robin, it was absolutely amazing to be able to watch your dot. And I mean, even for me to say that, it's exciting to watch someone's dot head
uh,
south on a map and just see the numbers go by and like the realization that, I mean, thousands of people watching your dot, the realization of what you were doing and the kind of ride you were putting together. I think I speak for everybody when we just say it's absolutely ridiculous. Um, we're going to get into all of that, all of the details. We're going to talk about headspace. We're going to talk about, fueling strategies and sleep strategies and all that stuff. But I want to start before the start. I want to go back to before you leave Switzerland. I want to talk about planning and tinkering because I feel like a lot of ultra racers or bike packers in general that are often they're often people who really enjoy the lead up to the race, like the packing and the tinkering, the mapping. Um, I assume the divide race was insanely complex in a lot of ways, but would you be that kind of person as well? Like, do you enjoy that tinkering and that buildup, or is it stress for you?
honestly, I think maybe I have kind of a good mix. Like naturally, it's not something I would be good at. Naturally, I am very that last minute kind of person. Also that, yeah, let's see how it turns out. We'll find a way, and then maybe it will be okay or good. But I think also through experience, I know that a certain degree of planning is just needed. So I really force myself to reach that certain degree, which is not extremely high. Also specifically with Tour Divide, it's been even a bit different now this time because I left way earlier than I would normally leave for such race because I did Unbound XL in the lead up. So this meant I didn't really prepare a lot or really plan a lot before I left. So most of the planning happened in between Unbound XL and start of Tour Divide. But what I was going to say is, like my experience tells me like what degree of planning I need to achieve, and then my natural behavior allows me to be very flexible once that planning is not really accurate, or if there is something going wrong during the race. It just allows me to be very relaxed, still, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it does completely make sense. It's almost like you've planned what you could plan for, but you also need to be able to go with the flow if the storm rolls in or if you don't make it to the hotel, that kind
One
of
hundred
thing. You need to
percent.
be sort of relaxed about that those sort of happenings, I would
I think
imagine.
so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. So obviously this race has changed quite a bit. It's evolved from people basically like a no sleep competition into more of, I mean, almost like stages, right? Like it's like stages like from hotel to hotel. So leading up to this race, I assume that's how you looked at it. You said, I need to cover this distance, I need to get to this best restaurant or this Motel 8. Is that basically
100%.
what?
Yeah, yeah, you're 100% right. So basically, I am just not interested in not sleeping. I think it's not only the race that's changed; it's probably the whole discipline, the whole sports. That's kind of. I would not even say just changes, but also it evolves, it develops. Like the level gets higher, and as the level gets higher, we notice that sleeping just makes sense. It allows you to go faster. So I would not consider it as just changing, but as an improvement. So yes, when planning, this was basically the thing that I did. I looked at the route. I looked at the towns, villages. Where do they have hostels or motels or hotels? And yeah, then you end up like pretty soon with a rather clear strategy and plan. You just have to decide what amount of days you would like to go for, and then it's pretty clear. It's not so complex, because there's not many
Yeah.
options. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's like you have to ride to the next town if you want to sleep. So that's what
exactly.
you're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe that's
yeah,
also that's also in my specific case, because I really rely on a lot of sleep. So I slept at least 4 hours every night. This also meant for me that sleeping actually means sleeping inside, if possible. Um, this is also not something that every ultra rider prefers, but in my case, um, yeah, I wanted to sleep in hotels whenever possible, and this meant that stages were just clear.
yeah, yeah. You're preaching to the choir. I will put my hand up and say if I never camped again, I would be a happy camper, which doesn't really go well with bike pack racing, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it on a like for fun. I like it. It's okay. But then also
Yeah,
I have a nice mat with me. I have a proper sleeping bag with me, or like a warm sleeping bag with me. And now this time it was just like emergency bivy and just some sleeping bag. So sleeping
yeah,
outside would have meant just way less comfort.
yeah. I guess the next question I have would be, how did you end up on deciding on you need, 4.5 or 5 hours sleep every night? Did you come to that number because like you through training you look at your power meter and you're like, well, my numbers go way down if I don't hit 5 hours sleep a night? Is that how you settled on that?
No, not exactly, but it's definitely like these 4.5 hours, especially. They are definitely a number that I am quite familiar with. Um, it's because there's like these 90-minute sleep cycles. I don't know if you know about them, but a lot
No.
of a lot of ultra racers somehow rely on them, and also just athletes in general in their everyday life. 90-minute sleep cycles basically means that always after 90 minutes of sleep, you enter kind of a new phase of sleep. And this means that if you wake up at the end of like either of these 90 minutes, so let's say 90 minutes, 3 hours, 4.5, 6, etc., um, you wake up quite easily, and you wake up when not being deep asleep. So 4.5 hours is kind of a result of A, that strategy, relying on 90-minute sleep cycles, and B, also just experience. I did 4.5 hour rests at Transcontinental for the last 2 years, I would say. And I always did that usually only in the first night, because Transcontinental is a bit shorter. So you can go down to 3 hours way earlier. So I decided to go for 4.5 at the beginning for like maybe 3-4 nights at least. That was kind of the plan. Because I knew, yeah, 4.5 hours is just such a big difference to 3 hours. You're really properly relaxed after 4.5 hours. I knew that, or in my case, I'm properly relaxed. And then throughout the race, I just noticed, hey, if I go with that pace, I need to, or I can allow myself to sleep a bit more than probably normally you would. Also because there was not so much people around me anymore, so I didn't have to look for
Yeah.
others. And B, also, I just noticed I need this amount of sleep. So these 4.5 hours, always um after basically being done with sleeping, I overslept the first two to three alarms. Like, this is not terrible, because I always set like 5-6 alarms. I have I have an alarm for every 5 minutes, um
Yeah.
the whole 24 hours of the day on my phone, so I can just tack turn them on, kind of. So I always turn on 6 alarms. But when noticing, hey, if I set an alarm on 5 a.m. and I sleep through the first 3 alarms, this is kind of a sign that I probably should continue sleeping 4.5 hours at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. If you were to do a race that, say, it took you like 50 to 70 hours, something like that, I would guess maybe that you could do it without sleeping. Would you apply
Yeah.
the same 4.5 hour sleep strategy to that, or would you go right through if the race was a bit shorter like that? Well, a lot
I,
shorter.
I mean, 70 is definitely, I would say 70 hours is a race where you should sleep at least once, I would say. Maybe
Okay, yeah.
maybe even twice. But then 50 hours is definitely a race where you can do it without sleep. You will probably stay faster. I would say, for example, in Europe there is Badlands. You might know that.
Yep.
It's,
Yep.
I think, usually around 38-40 hours. This is very clear that you can go really fast still. And if you've ever done that, you notice, okay, 40 hours, that's really fine. You can do that without sleep, and you can maybe add 10-15 more hours where you're really not heavily sleep deprived. But after that, you would need a certain amount of sleep, but again, not 4.5 hours. Then the thing with Tour Divide is, in my opinion, it's so much about, like, keeping yourself clean, keeping yourself running. Also, like, one aspect is this stuff like sleep deprivation, like really recover from the actual effort that you made, kind of make sure your legs feel fine the next day. But then there's also way or there's also different subjects. For example, like saddle sores. If you sleep 4.5 hours, you can cure the saddle sores of your day. um for example, on the because I started quite quickly, I pushed quite hard in the beginning. I almost or I even expected to deal with saddle sores after like 3 days. I was pretty sure I will have quite a bad time on day
Yeah.
4. Um, but it was fine, or no, it also happened, but I was fine with it, because I knew, okay, at night I can sleep 4.5 hours. I can use my zinc cream, my zinc ointment, make sure my bibs are properly washed, because I will be sleeping in a hotel, um, and just like cure it overnight and then be safe again on the next day. And this would not be possible if your sleeping strategy would be way more aggressive. So this is also something that saves you time. I mean, you
Yeah.
know how slow you get with when riding with saddle sores. It's really terrible. Just as an
Yeah.
example.
Yeah, it changes everything. I did a thing a couple of weeks ago, and I mean, I ended up using about 1.75 of a tube of
Uh,
polysporin on my chamois. Like things got too far, and like we're gonna get to taking care of yourself and everything, but that hotel, stopping in hotels, it's not just for sleep, like you said. Like your body, you gotta like look after all the things down there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, this may be a stupid question. Are you booking hotels? Like, have you booked all your hotels for your divide route ahead of time? Or do you like book them as you go? How do you do that?
It's not allowed to book them like before the start of the race, but
Okay.
I think this was not really the question, because also um you really have to still, if your plan is quite clear, like it was in my case, still there is of course a few options. Usually there's like 3 villages within 2 hours, and then maybe there's 200 k's where there's nothing. But as soon as like maybe the day passes and the evening starts to arrive, you can somehow have an idea where exactly you're going to sleep. You just pull out your booking app or whatever. I also used this thing, or this Excel sheet by One of Seven project. It's quite common. It's some
Hmm.
thing, some guide you can help. There you have phone numbers of hotels on it, or motels, and you just call, you send messages on the bike, and usually it's really easy to book a hotel while riding your bike. So you do it not too far in advance. Of course, also because sometimes you arrive only at 2 in the morning, then you have to be a bit earlier, and yeah, think about your arrival, also about how to get some food. Um, but yeah, usually it's something you do on a daily basis, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So when you roll into a hotel, let's say you've checked in, you open your door, you go to a room. What is the first thing you're doing? You've just done 300 kilometers. What's the first thing you do when you get to that hotel room?
Plug in all your devices. It's
Yeah.
always this. Like I plug in all my, like I have one pack. It's basically the down tube pack that's below the down tube, where I would say everything that I need throughout the night, throughout the hotel stay is in there. So I take off that pack. Every other pack I leave it closed. I don't touch it at all, except for
Yeah.
for the saddlebag, because I have second bib in there, and I always wash these. But generally, there's one pack that does everything. So plug in all your stuff. I have like a multi charger where you can charge all your
Mhm.
things. Then I always turn on the shower, put my used bib under the shower, just on the floor, and then I eat, because this is also kind of
Yep.
a rule that I have to myself. If I make a sleeping break, I need to be able to eat before the break and after the break, because recovery just doesn't work on an empty stomach, and you also completely kill your recovery if you start again on an empty stomach. So this is quite a strict rule. It's even a rule that is so strict that in case I don't um, in case it's impossible to get food, I would easily ride 2 more hours, for example, or I would even use my emergency food, just to make sure this is ensured. So
Yeah.
eat,
Yeah.
shower. I always stretched like 2-3 minutes every night. Every night. This is maybe not extremely common, but I think it helped a lot. And then what else did I do? I made sure I, yeah, add that zinc ointment to my to my
Yeah.
bum, because this is what I mentioned before. It helps a lot. I use it every night. During the day I use normal chamois cream, and then this zinc ointment overnight. Also, like, I don't know, your hands, they are of course open with stuff. You use a bit of ointment there to make sure everything is fine. But it's not very complex in the end. You just make sure you get to bed quite quickly. Don't forget to set the alarms, as I mentioned before, because you won't
Yeah.
wake up by yourself. And yeah, then I guess that's about it. Yeah.
Okay. It sounds like you have zero trouble falling to sleep, which is the opposite of me. I
Uh-huh.
find I could be have like been awake for like 45 hours and I'll get to a hotel and I will lay there and stare at the ceiling for 5 hours.
Oh wow.
Do you have any
No.
advice for me?
I don't. I because it's so much not an issue that in fact I never thought about how to fall asleep.
Yeah. Okay.
It's really a super easy thing for me. Of course, I but actually I'm pretty sure I would not even have to look for it. Of course, I try and limit my caffeine intake like 6 hours before I get to sleep. But this is actually the only thing I do in order to not be completely scratched up when going to a hotel. But yeah, I jump in my bed and I'm basically sleeping. Also in my everyday life, though, I think it's a huge huge privilege I have. I sleep like a baby always.
That's like a superpower to me. I'm super jealous of that, Robin.
Maybe it's the superpower for a race like this. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I
That's
could imagine.
amazing. Yeah. Have you actually during this particular divide race, at any point did you have any moments on the bike where you thought you might fall asleep or were close to falling asleep?
Nope, not at all. Actually, really
Wow.
zero. And I think it's this is kind of a success, and I think this is great and important, and also important that you ask this question. When I was on
Yeah.
the bike, I was fully focused, fully alert. Of course, there's probably been moments where I drifted
Yeah.
off a bit, but no, it was great. Also compared to, for example, Transcontinental, which was last year, where I really had to deal with kind of other riders around me, adjust my strategy, adjust my sleeping pattern a bit. There I definitely had moments where I was really sleep deprived. But now this time where I could really do my thing, it was absolutely great. It worked really fine.
Yeah. I assume there's been moments in the past in other races where, I mean, we hear ultra racers talking about, seeing things and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm sure you've had those experiences, but it
I
sounds
did.
like this
Yeah.
divide ride was super smooth that way.
In terms of this, yes, yeah, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, interesting, amazing. Let's talk about the bike. What were you Were you on an addict or a scale? What were you
No,
riding?
I was on a scale on a scale gravel though. So the scale gravel is basically it's a scale but with a rigid fork.
Yeah,
And I use the suspension fork though and the drop bar. So it's basically been a scale frame, a scale mountain bike with yeah with kind of some adjustments, I would say. Of course, a drop bar
okay.
on a mountain bike is quite a big adjustment, I'd even say,
Yeah,
but it felt really good. Yeah.
yeah. Was it always going to be that bike, or was there any in the lead up to this? Was there any tinkering or testing? Did you ever consider riding an addict gravel instead of a scale
Um,
gravel?
Not an addict gravel. There was the thought about using rigid fork on the scale gravel, but
Yeah,
yeah, super happy it wasn't. Or super happy I didn't go for that. I still think
yeah,
like the bike as a concept makes totally sense because you can switch your fork. And for example, I rode Unbound XL with the scale gravel, but with the rigid fork. And I feel like the versatility of the whole bike really really is super cool. It's one bike that can do quite a lot. Um, there was maybe once the race came closer, there was a bit of insecurity just from my side whether I should have opted for a Spark, like the full suspension bike
yeah.
that Scott offers. I also think it would be an option. I think though it's maybe almost a bit too much. Of course, you never use all the travel on these, or you rarely use all the travel on these ultra races. It's always about comfort. Um,
Something's gone wrong if you did use all the travel.
I
Bad
would
line
say so.
choice.
Yeah. Or yeah. Or you just. I mean, there is parts of the trail that where you could definitely send it completely, but maybe it's better if you don't to
Yeah,
play the bit safe, I would say. So no, the thing with the Spark is it's probably it always has 120 millimeters of travel, and I still feel like yeah, as a full suspension, still there's a bit more stuff that can break. I was a bit scared of that, even though the rear suspension with that specific bike is not really not really exposed due to it lying inside the frame. But yeah, I would say it could be an option to do it with a spark. But it's totally not needed. I was super happy with the hardtail. Um, and yeah, I felt super comfortable. I always opt for huge tires though, so I rode 2.4-inch tires, which is quite wide, and they give a lot of comfort as well. So yeah.
Yeah. That's another thing that has changed a hell of a lot over the years. Like in a lot of people's minds, when I think fast gravel, I think 50 or 40s or 45s, or of course you're loaded and like this is very different. But it has become very apparent and very obvious that comfort is speed,
Yeah,
correct?
for sure, for sure, for sure. I would say I'm also often kind of forgetting this, when when first thinking about my Tour Divide bike, I was quite intrigued by the idea of using as what is it, a rigged fork.
Yeah.
Just because I like the looks of it, I like that the bike is super light, and only when like really forcing myself to really think about my setup and forgetting about how does the bike look, forgetting about what exactly is the weight, only by then I noticed, hey, when you're never going to discuss about the suspension fork at races like this. It 100% makes sense.
Yeah.
And then also by the time I got to choose tires, which was quite close before the race, I still could have opted for 2.2-inch tires, but there it was completely clear already. Like my headspace was very much focused on comfort at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Did you lock the fork out often, or did you just leave it open the entire time?
At the beginning, I locked it out quite a few times. Also, at the beginning, you have, or like always, you have a bit of asphalt there. Of course, you lock it out, but then, like with your hands getting more numb, you also don't feel so much of the suspension anymore. So the moving, you stop feeling it, which basically meant that I would say, like I'm just dropping a number down, and maybe it's kind of accurate. I would say 90% of the time my fork was in, is it it's called traction mode, like in the medium
Yeah.
setting where it's almost open. And this was perfectly fine. Yeah. And
Yeah.
also then of course, like this is totally normal as well with to divide. After like 3,000 kilometers, your fork is not really working anymore. So
Yes.
so you just leave it open and hope it does part of its job. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's got a pedaling platform. All the seals are
Yeah.
all dusty and everything. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, an interesting thing happened to me a while ago. I was on a fairly long ride, and there was a little strap from my top tube bag. It was hanging out like literally, 5 millimeters.
Yeah.
And on a normal bike ride, this like I wouldn't even notice it, But after hour 20 and hour 40, hour 50, I look down and I have like probably 10 little scars on the inside of
Yeah.
my knee from this tiny little rubber strap that I wouldn't have ever noticed on a normal bike ride. And I thought to myself, like, these crazy huge long rides, they really like bring out anything that is wrong or needs changed on
I
your
would say
bike.
so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So during the Tour Divide, what sort of adjustments, if any, did you find that you needed to make maybe to the bags or like tire pressure or handlebar setup? Did you change anything on the go?
I would say that optimally, this is something that you have dialed before the race. Of course, this is an optimal case, and always there is kind of or some sort of rubbing going on, but like there were no major changes. I got a bit angry at my top tube bag, because it of course it moves around a bit from your left to your right side. So I
Yeah.
had to readjust my way of packing it, because it's quite simple. If you put heavy things on the right side of the bag, it just drops to the right side. And also this is something, yeah, if you're on a 2-3 hour ride and your top tube bag always moves to the right, you don't really care. You do it at home. But
Yeah.
on a 12-day ride, it's of course something that
Yeah.
can definitely drive you crazy. Um, what I do quite often though, and it's not really, I would say it's not even an unexpected change anymore. It's just something I always do with my gloves. I always wear short finger gloves with a lot of padding, and during my everyday rides, even long ones like 10-hour rides, they're super comfortable. They're fine, but during ultras, I can wear them for like 2 days, and then I have to cut them open. So I have to cut the division between the fingers open. So basically, they don't have fingers anymore. So they're just kind of a padding and something around your arms. Um, it looks it doesn't look so shit, but it looks kind of shit. So
Yeah.
I always have to do that because somehow really these what is it like this part of your hands between your fingers, it really starts to hurt terribly. And it's something that I can only provoke during ultras. And also, it doesn't matter the brand of the gloves, the size of the gloves. It's just the fact that there's fabric in between my fingers.
Yeah.
And this is, I would say, kind of interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, no, for
it's
sure. It
very,
is like
very
one of those
specific.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's not going to come out until like hour 50 or something when I mean, whether
Exactly.
your hands are
Yeah.
swelling or, whatever it is, it's not something that comes out until then. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
There's one other thing I just think of. It's also quite interesting because it came out even way later. It came only out after like 10 days. My glasses, my so I'm using Oakley glasses, and
Yeah.
they start like my ears started to get a bit bloody from the what is it? The
The
stuff that
arms,
is
the
on.
little pads there. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So, and this only happened after like 10 days. So super, super late. And now you would think, you could maybe give feedback that this should be softer, but it's not a
It's
use
not
case.
real
Yeah,
life. Yeah,
it's
it's
definitely
not
not
real
real life.
life what you're doing.
So yeah, that
Interesting.
was the other
Yeah.
thing.
Uh, let's talk about mapping. Did you make any wrong turns? I know there was a route change farther
Mhm.
down, but aside from that, did you make any wrong turns at any point? And actually, what are you using for mapping as well?
I didn't really do like big wrong turns. It's also because like the route is like it's so common. So many people do
Yeah,
it. I would say it's really hard to get completely lost. But of course, sometimes you do like
I could do it.
200
I
meters.
could get lost.
Well, yeah, but like for sure you will find out quite soon. You will turn
Okay.
around and get back to it, and it will be fine. So no big wrong turns. For mapping, of course, I use my Garmin devices. I always use either an Edge 1040 or 1050. I For this ride I prefer the 1040 because it has that solar gain. So it means you can, like, the device says it can be navigating for like 50 hours, but it's always longer. It's 60 hours plus where you can be navigating easily. And this is a huge plus. Um,
Yeah.
and then I always have a watch as a backup, like a Fenix watch as a backup, just in case something goes wrong with my Edge, which wasn't the case in that time. But then, as a planning tool, I am not very settled yet, I have to say. For example, always or usually I was quite fine with Komoot.
Yeah.
And now this time, just somehow I felt like using Ride with GPS, and I don't even know how or why. Maybe it's because they have a quite good, quite a nice function that I didn't find on Komoot. If you do the divide, you get the route, like it's one big route,
Yeah.
like 4,300 kilometers, and you don't really want that for your device. Like if it shuts down, it would have to recalculate the whole route every time, which takes way too much time. So you want to break down your route in certain steps, and I
Oh,
broke it down in 11 steps. And ride with GPS can do that quite easily, whereas Komoot, I don't know if they can do that. So that's why I ended up with that planning tool for this time. But I'm quite relaxed about that subject at the moment. Yeah.
That itself right there, what you said is a good tip because my least favorite screen on my Garmin is the one that says calculating route
Yeah.
with the little circle, and I'm just like, oh
Just
God, where am I?
no, I try to make sure my routes are not much longer than 500 Ks. Um
Yeah, that
there
makes
there it
sense.
works fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Uh, Robin, I want to talk about your body and your head now, but I want to start at your bum. Is that okay if we talk about your bum for a little
Sure.
bit?
Sure, I'm used to it. Like your ultra races, you have to be comfortable with talking about your bum.
Yeah. Um, how were we? You mentioned it briefly there. You expected some saddle sores. How were they? Was it bad? You took care of them? Let's break it down for everybody.
Uh-huh. Okay. So why did I expect them? Like my plan was to go fast from the start. And the thing is, at the beginning of the route in Canada, the riding is really it's quite technical. So or let's not technical that you're really at the limit of your capabilities, but technical in the sense it's like fun mountain biking sometimes. And
Yeah.
you can really ride cross country style, very active on the saddle, like you just use your bike kind of. And with my background in mountain biking, I enjoyed that. I also made sure I have some fun while riding because
Yeah.
it plays a role. So yeah, I was pretty sure that if I want to make a big difference at the beginning of the race, it will this might be kind of a price that I will have to pay. And yes, it happened. It wasn't terrible, but it was still not very enjoyable because after I would say yeah after about 1000 K, like there's a lot of washboard already coming up, and of course washboard is the worst for your bum if it's open. So it's basically just on your bones you have two open spots, or I had two open spots. Um, and I then just made sure at night that everything is properly cleaned. I used that ointment. It's basically baby or diaper rash cream.
Hmm.
It's really good to dry out the wounds. And if you sleep 4.5 hours, and if you're not like it's not deeply opened yet, and if you pay a bit of attention throughout the day, I would say after 2 nights you're quite fine again. So actually my feeling on the saddle after I would say 5 6 days, I got really comfortable again. So it was really interesting to see that you can get better throughout the race.
Very, you have a very adaptable taint, Robin. Very adaptable taint. That's good. It's
Also,
the washboard is brutal on
yeah,
some
it's it
open wounds. Like, oh,
and I mean even if you're completely fresh, it still feels like you're not making any distance, and then you always have to stand up because your butt hurts, and yeah, it can be terrible. Also what I maybe forgot to mention now, I have kind of options if saddle sores get too bad. I know one position how to change my saddle, which would help me,
yeah,
and I always bring compete plasters. Is this something you know? It's these
yeah,
plasters you use for what is it? I forgot the word. When you burn yourself or when
like
you use it
blisters
for
or
yeah,
burns.
blisters exactly. So I always bring these, and you could use them in order to cure saddle sores. So it's basically you just put these plasters on the um very specific wound, and
Yeah,
just leave it there until it disappears by itself again. But I always try to not use it because it's kind of a last way out. So
yeah.
so yeah, I was happy. I was still quite far away from actually having to use that kind of stuff. Yeah.
What would you rather do? Stand up for 300 kilometers or put band-aids on your bum?
Definitely band-aids. I mean, then
Yeah,
again,
okay.
it's like it is a solution, you know. You bring it because it is a solution, and you can use it if there's no other option. You definitely do it because standing up
Yeah,
for 300 Ks definitely means you will have other issues after that. That
yeah,
might be
100%.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Robin, every time I do a big dumb ride, I will get sick after, usually.
Uh,
How the hell are you staying healthy during 12 days and even afterwards? I don't know, maybe you got a cold after, but our immune systems are shit after this. So, how are you staying healthy?
I think staying healthy throughout the 12 days of racing is maybe easy. I don't know. I mean, or I was just lucky. It's not something you pay close attention to. I feel like this is what you're still like in the competition, and you're still like your whole body is in a weird state anyway. So I believe it somehow just deals with, or it makes sure you don't get sick. But then after the race is really where I also am endangered of getting sick.
Yeah,
This time I thought I was quite successful at first because like it was so nice. I got picked up by Lyle Wilcox and Drew Colladit, which is her wife. They picked me up, and I spent some very nice days at their house in Tucson. It was super relaxed, not much going on. We just ate a lot, and that was kind of it, and it was
yep,
great. But then when I got home, there was kind of like partying on the menu.
of
Not
course.
only because of my race, but also because of the race. There were also other reasons for it. And then yes, I got sick. I completely lost my focus. I drank a bit too much for 2 times, which is something I'm not used to at all anymore. It's
Yeah,
it's I think it's the worst thing you can do to your body. If I haven't been drinking alcohol for half a year almost, and then I come back party with my friends after something like this.
real
Um,
lightweight after that, Robin.
yeah. Uh,
Cheap drunk.
I mean, it I did need a lot, believe me.
Yeah.
Was still, but it just it happens to me as well, and also it was a good reminder. Like it was kind of a humbling reminder. I think I should, even after these races, like you're an athlete now. It's also not so long since I'm kind of professional. Um, I really told myself, hey, like it's fine, you can enjoy, you can party, but maybe like a certain degree of focus, you should maybe keep that for next time. And
Yeah.
it's probably a good learning. I will try to use after my next big race.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So you're not taking any like supplements or anything like that during the race to try to stave off like the colds you get from the cashier at the 7-Eleven and wherever? Nothing.
No, not during the race. No. Before the race, of course, I do take some stuff that you
Yeah,
just take as an active person. Also after the race, or I would say after the race, it's more about very um, balanced diet, um, which already helps a lot because you just eat very bad stuff for 12 days. But no, during the race, usually not. During the race, it's really the stuff that I take is race focused. So it could be that you, for example, take some electrolytes, or that you take some, I don't know, what no, actually electrolytes, not nothing else really. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Are you relying on caffeine at all, either from coffees in the morning or do you use caffeine pills at all?
Yes, I do use caffeine pills. I use them quite also, like I know when I want to use them. I don't use them straight after getting up, but always like after 90 minutes of being awake. And then I use 2 to 3 of them a day. I make sure I don't use them anymore in the evening. Um, and also I try to kind of use them quite similarly throughout the race. Um, it
Yeah.
it maybe shows quite a lot about my riding strategy in general. I don't try to have very specific peaks. I don't try to go very fast there or very fast there, but just be very consistent. And I also try to somehow mirror that in the way I nourish myself. So I'm not one of these guys, which could be a strategy as well. It's totally fine, of course. But my strategy is use caffeine from the beginning to the finish. In similar amounts, whereas others maybe say, "Hey, I'm going to save my 10 caffeine pills for the last 2 days, and then just go full flat out to the finish without sleeping," for example.
Yeah. I love how chill you are,
Uh,
Robin. You're very like, I don't go fast here, I don't go fast there. And in my head, I'm listening to you say that and I'm thinking to myself, no, you just go fast everywhere. Like the entire length of the thing. Your mindset, you seem to be like a very relaxed, chill person, which I think that's the opposite of me. I think that that surely has to help you in these sorts of adventures. I would imagine. I would love to have that mindset.
um, I think it's of course it's a huge subject. I'm not very relaxed and chilled in my everyday life, I would say. I'm kind of known with my friends as one of the guys that's always running from one thing to the next, and that is
Okay.
often kind of overbooked due to due to its own incompetence to just like say, hey, this is too much. So
Yeah.
I also have kind of a FOMO, um, but maybe because I have that in my everyday life, um, I don't have it while racing, and that's also why I enjoy racing so much. Um, these races, they are only about one thing, like get to the finish as fast as possible. Um, there is no reason to kind of rush. You just have to, yeah, it's just about riding your bike, like consistently riding your bike. And I feel like this is something that really that is really relaxing for me, and I enjoy it a lot. So yeah, it's yeah,
Yeah. I
that's
need some of that. I need some of that. That's good. I like it. Uh, the low moments out there. You're out there for a long time. I'm sure there are some low moments. Do you have a strategy or strategies for those times, whether that's uh, music or certain food, or maybe that's texting certain people or having a group text to give you encouragement? What are your strategies for those low moments?
it's interesting. I think it's evolving kind of. It's not always the same strategy that I have, and it's also not a preset strategy. For example, when I started racing, I would call my brother quite often.
Okay.
Now I don't do it anymore. I don't call anyone during the whole race. Or very, very, very rarely I call someone. So this is kind of something that completely disappeared. Then next step was maybe listening to music, um, because it can pick you up. But now I kind of noticed that listening to music um, means you have a big peak. You can really enter a high, but it's I'm not an expert in that questions, but I think it's kind of like doing drugs. Um,
Yeah.
you have a big high, and then you stop listening to music, or you just overwhelmed with it, and after that you have a big low again. So it's kind of not my go-to strategy anymore as well, because I get way too emotional from listening to music. So I don't use it anymore. And by now, I think what really helps me a lot is I really enjoy being an athlete, and I really enjoy being able or kind of forcing myself to focus on my performance. Um, I I like I just like to be a good sports person and kind of a great athlete. It's something that I really aim for, that I aspire to be. And I think if I hit a low point, it's usually something that is, yeah, that is not very much related to your actual performance. It's maybe you're just fed up with riding your bike, for example, or you're just fed up with the weather. You don't like the route, whatever. But it's very rarely about, oh, I'm not putting out enough watts. So at these moments, I just try to remind myself, yeah, that I want to be a great athlete, and that for me, it's at this moment, it's about performing at my absolute best and at my maximum, and this somehow keeps me going. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it sounds like you're a professional athlete, Robin. That makes complete sense. Yeah.
That's it's also another subject that I find super interesting. Within my discipline, um, I don't know if you can relate, but within my discipline, being a professional athlete also kind of has a certain aspect of feeling like a bit like you don't feel like a real professional athlete, you know? Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though
Yeah.
you're good, you're good at what you're doing and everything. So you always have to remind yourself, hey, this is cool, this is fine. You're training hard, you're working hard, you are a professional athlete. And I think that's why it's also a strategy to use in these races, because yeah, you can forget that you're here to perform somehow. And I feel like that's why it helps me. Maybe this doesn't make
Yeah.
so much sense.
No, no,
But
that does make complete sense because it is a like you're a professional ultra racer, but that is a very different thing. Like before we started recording, we were talking about the tour stage today. And like when I think of a traditional professional cyclist, I think of like 90-pound Frenchmen and sausage shoots climbing mountains really fast. But what you're doing is gnarlier in all sorts of ways, in many ways. So it's a different thing, but I could see why you would think that for sure.
okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah. Interesting. Uh, when you're out there, you mentioned power meter. Are you riding to a specific power, or at some point you just stop looking and you got to do what you do?
Yeah, I mean, also, quite like if you ride your bike quite often, you know quite well, like in what areas you might be. Um, then yes, I use it sometimes. I use my power meter, but not very extensively. It's more sometimes you're just interested to actually see the actual number. Um, so yes, I use it, but it's not a crucial tool. For example, this time, that's kind of a fun fact. I wanted to change the batteries of my power meter of my pedals. I use Garmin pedals as a power
Yeah.
meter, and I used like a very bad tool, so I fucked up the screw and I couldn't change the batteries before the race anymore. So after like 2/3 of the ride, it was empty anyways, and it didn't
Oh,
change anything for my riding at all. It just means that my files aren't aren't very complete, but that's okay.
that in itself is interesting. Like, I picture myself being out there I mean, I would be out there for 30 days, something like that would take me. But, let's say I'm out there for 20 days, I'm like three-quarters way done or whatever it works out to, and my power meter dies. I'm the kind of person who would look at that and be like, holy shit, I don't know what I'm doing now. Like, you know what I mean? But your mindset is quite different. Like, you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to do what I can do.
I think that is very very precise. It also relates to what I said about my general way of planning before. Like in this specific power meter case, now I also knew it was going to die because I knew if I don't use new batteries at the race start, they won't last till the very finish. So
Yeah.
I was kind of able to prepare for it. But yes, I think it is probably a skill of mine to not care about these kinds of things. Like
Oh, man.
I'm totally fine with. I was really fine with the power meters dying. Yeah, I didn't care.
Can you coach me, Robin? This would be great. I need some of this. I need some of your attitude.
I think it's yeah. Just remind yourself of this next time it happens, and it will be good.
Yeah, Robin doesn't give a shit, so why should I? That's what I have to
it's
think.
really some. It's really about not giving a shit sometimes.
I like it. I like it. Okay. Um, I was listening to an interview with you where you said that you rolled into Antelope Wells, the finish line on the Mexican border, and you weren't that emotional about it. It didn't feel that emotional. Um, m- you know, putting myself in your shoes, I would probably be, a big ball of man tears finishing something like that. Did that emotion come later, or why didn't it come at the finish? What do you think
It,
was going on?
it usually comes earlier in my case. Um,
Oh,
it doesn't mean that I'm not emotional at all about the race in general. No, but it comes earlier. Of course, you cry during this race. Of course, you cry when you're nearing the finish. But because, like in my case, because they're so like you're done. Let's say 300 kilometers from the finish, you're basically done. You know that you will make it, especially in that case.
yep.
Or, I mean, now I'm saying 300 k's from the finish, you're done, and my coach will get angry at me because he says you're done at the finish line. But that's not what it's about. Mentally, you have, let's say, 300 kilometers of thinking about everything that has happened throughout the last 11 days, of imagining how the finish will be, imagining what you'll be doing, I mean, imagining who you'll be calling. So you just have plenty of time to be emotional, and there's not
Yeah.
so much left in your tank once you're there. Um, so that's basically why.
Interesting.
Very
Okay.
simple.
All right.
It's probably also very
When,
personal. But
yeah.
I think others deal differently with it. But yeah, for example, I always call my girlfriend before I finish,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Okay.
then it's kind of more honest. And after the finish, it's just like, yeah, hi, I'm done. Wow, ciao, ciao.
Yeah. Yeah. Ciao, ciao. I'm done. I'll see you in a couple days.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay. Uh, Sometimes when I finish a big ride, I think never again. And then, a day later, I'm like, oh, I could maybe do that again. And then a week later, I'm already planning it. You
Uh-huh.
finish this thing, your mindset, I'm sure at some point near the finish, you're either thinking, I can't wait to next year, I'm undecided, or never again. Where were you on that scale?
I think Tour Divide for this is really interesting to discuss about. Like the feeling you just described before, I 100% can relate to it. I had this at Transcontinental. I had this at basically every ultra race I did so far. Tour
Yeah.
Divide was different. It takes way longer until you're back to I want to do it again. I'm still not at that point, not at all. Of course, I think it's also a combination with the circumstance that it was a smooth ride. It was a good performance. The weather was great. So me myself, I don't see that much room for improvement. I don't think I can make it below 11 days, Maybe someone else can,
Yeah.
but me definitely not. So there's no huge big goals for me at that race at the moment. Um, this definitely doesn't help my urge to come back. But then again, just the the idea of getting back to Banff and, and going flat out for 12 days, it's kind of scary, I would say.
Yeah.
Whereas as a comparison, or also as a proof that it's really about the specific route and race. Now 10 days from now, yeah, 10 days from now, Transcontinental is starting.
You're
And
not doing it, are you?
no, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Okay.
But
Thank
I would
God.
totally fancy doing it. I would love to be doing it. Um, but tell me in 10 days you'll be starting to divide again. Never. So it shows quite clearly that it's not the
Yeah.
same thing. It's kind of different. Also like mentally at Transcontinental after 7 days, you think about how can I finish this off in style. At Tour Divide, you're like, I definitely have to keep my shit together because there's 6 more days of riding ahead, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Is I I want to ask a motivation question. How am I going to word this? If, okay, let's say you don't do it next year and a bunch of other fast people show up and somebody beats your time by like some hours, whatever, 3 hours, 5 hours, whatever it is. Would you take motivation in that to come back to go faster? Or is your motivation more personal? Is it more about your own thing?
It's I definitely am interested in good competition. Yes, it could be that it is motivating. I don't know if like a few hours more or less. I don't know if that really would be motivating for me. I think it could also matter who it is. Um,
Yeah.
this probably could make a difference, but at the moment, hmm, it's hard to say if that would mean, hey, I want to come back. I think if I like it, let's say I have in mind, of course, I'm sure you have been thinking about this as well. Of course, I have this Triple Crown thing in mind where you do
Yeah.
Colorado trail race, Arizona trail race, and to divide in 1 year. Of course, it's something that's on my mind. Not within the next 2 years, but somewhere. Um, but still, like the fact that I know what Tour Divide is about, it will definitely always be um, the reason why I would not be doing it, because Tour Divide is just it's just super hard. Um, so it could be that if something like this happens, this could be kind of the tipping point where I say, okay, now let's try, because
Yeah.
there's something to go for.
Yeah.
But just to
Um,
just to get the record back or whatever, even though it's, I mean, this is also another discussion because of the fiery route. My ride is
oh.
not, but I don't even care. Um,
No, you can't care about these things because it's literally never it's 2,700 miles. It's never going to be the same, people. So like
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It is how it is. I really, I think it's been a good ride. So,
Yeah, yeah. A couple more questions for you before I let you go. I'm going to be honest, Robin. I might have been pulling for fellow Canadian and
uh,
legendary cyclist Swain Tuft.
yeah.
Um, he obviously got sick, and we saw you open up some huge gaps on some people, some other people as well too. With those gaps open up and it becomes, I mean, not obvious that you're going to win because so much can go wrong with weather and bikes and all sorts of stuff, right? But you also, for as chill as you are, you also sound like a pretty competitive person. So when you see those big gaps open up and it becomes like, sort of obvious that you're going to win, is it harder to get up after 4.5 hours sleep? Do you want to just stay in bed for an extra 2 hours? Like motivation?
Yes, it does get harder, um, but you can work against it. I can tell you quite exactly how it worked out. Um, First, I wanted to win. Then I wanted to get the record. Then I thought about Lochie's time,
Yeah.
12 days, 12 hours. And after 6 days, everything above 12 hours would have been disappointing. So that's how you stay motivated. Um, and there was one night, I think it was in Silverthorne, where I slept, and then I had a coffee machine in my bedroom. So I made myself like just like these capsule coffee machines, super easy to make coffee. So I made myself a double, like a big coffee, and like it came out. I looked at it and was like, might as well drink it in bed. And I did that, relaxed, like chilled for like 20 minutes, drinking coffee in bed. Got up and felt like, this is not what this is about. You will have to finish this race below 12 days. Otherwise you'll never um you'll never, sorry, I'm missing the words. Otherwise you'll never um
Forgive yourself.
forgive yourself for drinking that coffee. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can motivate yourself, but sometimes you also have to just jinx yourself, because then again it's a bike ride, right, and it's 12 days plus or minus. No one really cares, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. Okay, last question for you. Do you happen to know off the top of your head the TSS score on your on your divide ride?
I have
Is it like
no
5
idea.
digits long?
I have no idea. I would also have to add it, like, because it's I think it's 10 files or something,
Oh,
because I
right.
always stop
Yep.
them at the end of the. Sorry, that would be a great number. Yeah, I have to look it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna get back to you on that. I'll email you in a few days and
I'll
follow
check
up on
it
that
out. I'll
question
check it out.
because that number has got to be absolutely huge. It's not digits, it's just little skulls that come up on Trading Peaks.
Or just code, because it's too difficult.
Yeah,
Long. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. All right, Robin. This has been a great chat. This has been like a private podcast for me where I just ask all the things that I want to know about. So I really appreciate you giving me an hour of your time. And like I said, it was ridiculous to watch your dot and how fast you were going. And I never thought that I would be like excited watching a little dot head south on a map. And there were thousands of people watching you. It was amazing. So shout out to your ride and thanks again for coming on. And we hope for you to come back to the ride and do it again. And I think you can go even faster. Get another hour off there.
Let's see. Let's see. Yeah. Thanks for your
Robin,
time.
you
Great.
you could save 20 minutes by not having that coffee. You'd go 20 minutes faster right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, you're so right. Uh,
All right, Robin. Thank you so much and take care.
I will. Ciao, ciao.